we're going to talk about, we're going back to equations again. The word problems, I like to intersperse them in like we did the last couple days, so that it gives you a chance to sort of get your head around them and sort of practice them. I think homework today has a couple of those number word problems on it as well at the end. So you can just practice it a little bit more. Again, if you're confused, call me, call a friend, do something, but make sure you do it so it's done by tomorrow. Yes?
Are we having the quiz today?
We're not having a quiz today. I decided it wasn't worth it. Because I don't want to, you guys weren't ready for quizzes on the word problems, right? So I didn't want to do that. Some of you were, but not everybody. So we're going to go back to solving equations. There's a few more lectures on solving equations. This one in particular is about solving equations with fractions. Fractions in general scare people. I don't know why, but most students freak out when they see fractions. And you know, I don't quite know why, because you've been doing them for years, right? I mean, didn't you start them in like 3rd grade or something, or 4th grade? 4th, 5th, 6th, right? I don't know, 3 years of fractions. But the cool thing is mostly what you've been exposed to with fractions have not been equations. Am I right?
Yeah.
Your teacher said, what is, 2/4 plus 3/5? Right? Or, 7/9 plus 1/9. Whoops. Right?
8/9.
Right?
8/9.
So yeah, so that's 8/9. But that is not an equation, am I right?
No.
So the things that, as soon as you make it an equation, and put a number after the equal sign, you have an option. You have an option that you don't have. Oops. Right. But yes. But good point. That's. They didn't see that. I'm sure they didn't. Right? But as soon as you normally in algebra, one of them would be an x, right?
Yeah.
And then I could put the 2, right? Yeah? Right?
Yeah.
You agree with me?
Yeah.
So, thank you for catching that. That would have been a nightmare when I looked at it later. But, oh no!
Sorry, it's 1 and 2/20. First one.
Great. Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. But wait, so my point is though, listen. My point is, when it is an equation, you have a magic trick that you can do that will get rid of all fractions in one move. Literally one move. One move. That's it. All fractions in any equation. Okay? So here we go. Let's try one. So let's say, here's number 1. Let's say I gave you 2/7 x plus, I don't know, let's say 5/7 is equal to, how about 11/7? Okay? Now, if you didn't use this cool trick, it wouldn't be that actually hard to solve this, because all we have, you can subtract 5/7 from both sides, right? And you have common denominators, so it really wouldn't be that hard to do. And then you'd have you'd have to just do one little fast little maneuver at the end. But instead of dealing with fractions at all, let's get rid of them. Do you have an idea, Jan?
Yes.
What would you do?
Is it the same as you taught us last time?
Yes.
Multiply by 7.
You look at the denominator. The denominator is 7, right? All of the denominators are 7. So if we multiply everything in this equation, everything, this, and this, all the terms, this is called a term, this is called a term, this is called a term, right? If you multiply every term by 7, so this is how I do it. When you multiply 7 by 7, are you multiplying upstairs or downstairs?
Upstairs.
Upstairs, right? Because think about it. 2/7 times 7 is 7/1, right? So the 7 is upstairs, right? So it's 2 times 7. So since I know when I multiply times 7, like a whole number, I'm multiplying it times the upstairs, right? So this is what I do. I just write it upstairs. Right after the 2, I put a times 7. Right after the 5, I put a times 7. Right after the 11, I put a times 7. You with me? Now, is that legal though?
Yeah.
Why is it legal?
Because if you do one thing to one side, you just have to do it to the other.
Yeah, you can do anything you want to one side as long as you do it to the other side. You can do anything, right? So, what can I do now? Rosemary, well,
Now it would be 14x.
wait, okay, yes, you're right. But wait a minute. What is 7 over 7? What is 7 over 7? 1. So I'm going to cross those out.
Oh.
7 goes into 7 once. 7 goes into 7 once. So I just have 2 times x. And look, 7 over 7 is 1. I'm just going to cross it out. And that gives me plus 5 is equal to, cross that out, equals 11. See how easy that is? Yeah, isn't that awesome? So suddenly, you took something that a 9th, 10th grader in high school might freak out about. And in one move, you did something that a 7th grader could solve in their head, right? I mean, seriously. And so we're going to subtract 5. Subtract 5. We have 2x is equal to 6, I think, right? Divide by 2, x is equal to 3. Isn't that awesome? Awesome, awesome. Okay, let's try another one. All right, 2. Let's say I had 2 fifths x plus 4 equals 3 fifths. Now wait, this doesn't look the same as what I just did. Does it? Why does this look different?
There's only 2?
There's only 2 fractions. Okay, so Luke, what would you do?
You would, could you put a 5 under the 4 if you added another 5? Like over 5?
Well, all right. So Luke, let me stay with you for a second. Let's say that wasn't there for a second.
Okay.
What could you do?
You could do the times 5 thingy, and then you have x.
Well, why can't you multiply this times 5 too?
You
You can. It's just that it's not a fraction, right? Nothing's going to cross out. So I'm going to multiply this times 5, this times 5, this times 5, right? The 5's cross out. That gives me 2x plus, what's 4 times 5? 20 equals, the 5's cross out, 3. Well, that's going to be an interesting one, right? Okay, so minus 20, what is that? 2x is equal to negative 17. Now I'm going to divide by 2, x is equal to negative 8.5, yes, that's right, negative 8.5, or negative 8.5, either one, right? Or you could just leave it as negative 17 halves. That's okay with me too. Right? Okay, so that's number 2. Where are we?
That's what I said, it's not so hard. Not so hard.
Number 3. Let's say I gave you
Times the charm. Look.
You two, we are not 10 people.
Okay, how about all right. So if you saw that prior to today's lecture, I think most of you would have had trouble with this. I mean, you know what I mean? It really is, it would require some thinking. I mean, you could do it pretty easily. You just have to turn 2 into something with a 9 denominator, right? And then subtract 8/9 from it. And then you'd have a proportion. You guys know what proportions are?
Yeah.
Where you cross multiply?
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Right? So these are not proportions, right? That one you could turn that into a proportion. But there's 3 terms. A proportion has 2 terms. You agree with me? It has a fraction equaling a fraction. That's a proportion. This is not a proportion the way it's written. It could be turned into one, right? But it is not. So, Jan, what would you do with this?
So you would still just multiply it by 9/1, each thing by 9/1?
Right. So since 9/1 is the same as 9 upstairs, I'm going to multiply times 9 upstairs
And then you can
times
still
9
do that
upstairs
too.
times 9, right? These cross out, that crosses out. That gives me 4x plus 8 is equal to 18, right? So now I'm going to subtract 8, That gives me 4x is equal to 10. Divide by 4, x is equal to 5 halves, right?
No, 2.5.
Or 2.5, right? Either one is fine. I'm fine with anything. I'm fine with improper fraction. In elementary school, right? And whatever, 4th through 6th grade, you were not supposed to leave your answer like that, right? And so you were so ingrained in not doing it and moving it into this. And I'm fine with leaving it like this. Did I do something wrong?
No, Sienna, I just have a funny story.
Sienna?
Are we gonna do something?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
our sixth grade math teacher,
Yeah.
she we weren't allowed to say improper fraction, so we would just whisper it and say Voldemort instead.
Yeah, improper fractions are so taboo. At one point during a test, she put up like an image of Voldemort, like
During
she
our
projected it
test?
onto the board. Yeah, and so we weren't allowed to say improper.
So were you all required to move it into a mixed number
Most of the time.
most of the time? Yes, James.
This is really easy.
It is. That's great. That's great. I'm glad you're saying that because for some reason it takes a lot of times kids, they say that and then they sit down to do it and then they need to practice a little bit. They have to
I
ask
can already
questions.
do it on my own though. I did that one before you saw
Awesome.
it.
Okay, great. So suddenly, let's see. So let me just look at this and see if there's anything else I need to show you. Yeah, no, that's it. I think that's going to do it. Now, I think I'm going to, are there any questions before I turn this off?
No.
No.
All set? Okay, I'm going to just stop.